on. So briefly, we have a few goals for this meeting. We'd like to help people learn about the city process for commissioning permanent public art. We want to share some of the possible sites for permanent public art on the new bridge and get your feedback. And we'd like to hear from you about your community, your neighborhood, and what public art could or should be for this site. So first, the basics. The Percent per Art program is an initiative of the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. It was a result of the city's cultural plan, Boston Creates. The program demonstrates the city's and Mayor Walsh's commitment to sustainable funding for the arts by setting aside 1% of the city's annual capital borrowing for the commissioning of permanent public art for capital projects. Beyond integrating public art in city capital projects, the Percent for Art program engages other city agencies and municipal partners on best public art practices and demonstrates the lasting value of high quality public art across the city. The program is administered by the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture in collaboration with the Boston Arts Commission, the Office of Budget Management, the Office of Property Management, the Department of Public Works, who is one of our primary partners on this project, and city departments that have a role in managing capital projects. The Boston Art Commission, what is that? The Boston Art Commission is the commissioning body for public art for the city of Boston. It's housed in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. The BAC, as we call it, holds contracts with artists, approves artwork on city land, and conserves the city of Boston's collection of art and historical artifacts. The BAC has a curatorial vision that guides the commission when reviewing and voting on projects. And I'm going to read to you that curatorial vision, even though you can see it for yourself. The curatorial vision: to commission and approve innovative and transformative artworks that engage communities, enrich and enliven the urban environment, are driven by an artistically strong vision, enhance the diversity of the existing collection, respond directly to a specific environment, and possess durability appropriate to the lifespan of the work. Ooh. Yeah, what is a call to artists? I mentioned that a little bit before. A call to artists is a public request for artists to submit their qualifications for consideration for the commission, for a commission for public art. A call to artists is a legally binding document, and it serves as an artist guide to the project, both the technical details like schedule and engineering constraints, and important thematic considerations like shared community values, the vision for the site, and the intended users and uses of the site. And that's why we're here tonight. The commissioning process, the call is part of a larger public process, which you can see outlined here. Today, we're in step 2. Collecting information and listening to your thoughts about the artwork for the site or sites. We'll continue gathering information, and in a few weeks, we'll draft the call, as well as convene a selection committee. After the call is released, artist submissions will be evaluated, finalists will be invited to interviews, and ultimately the Boston Art Commission, the BAC, will approve an artist for the commission, and then the artist will get to work. And so now let's talk about the new Northern Avenue Bridge. I am going to show you a video. This is the fun stuff. And let's see if I got my settings right. Can you all hear that? All right. So that is the new Northern Avenue Bridge design, and I'm going to hand this over to Eddie Padmo-Diputro, who is with Urban Idea Lab, to talk about the potential sites for permanent public art on the bridge. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, thank you. First of all, before I even start, I just want to say that we, as part of the team who are doing the project, we're so excited that we're going to have art project integral to this design, because this project is taking a bridge that a lot of people love, that is an icon, and trying to create a new transformed icon for the city. And the way we are doing it, we're concentrating the whole thing into a people first destination. And this is going to be super special because this is going to be a place where in the middle of the city, we're going to be able to go down into the water, a water area where you'll be surrounded by water. And you will have fantastic views. So having that and having public art as part of it, I think this is something that for us is a really, really exciting opportunity. And so here are like just the start when we're starting to brainstorm where might be the area that we can have public arts. And of course, with more collaboration, things might shift a little bit. But right now, we're going to recreate, as you've seen in the model, this covering on the bridge itself is an architectural truss structure, and that, as you can see in the image before, we've already put an art form there that is in no way a solution. Exactly. This is just a placeholder, and because we do want to push to have art as part of the project. And if you can go back to the slides before.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Which one would you like?
Yeah, the first one with the diagram. Thank you. So that will be the A. That's the A site that you might want, that we can consider having arts. And then number 2 is the B. These are the B on the bottom there. You can see. These are like the approaches where you're going from the city or from South Seaport, and then you go down towards the promenade. And on that area, that's another place where potentially we can incorporate art. And then the third one that we've identified is the C. And number C is actually, so there's going to be these ribbons where there's going to be where people want to go straight between South Boston or downtown connection. So this is underneath there where you're going down. You go underneath before you get this vast area where you can look out. That is potential art area as well. One looking towards the Fort Point Channel, and the other one is looking outward towards the Boston Harbor. So these are right now the area that we've brainstormed that is potentially, it can be used for art program or art installation. And as you can see, it could be anything because there is a totally different site with its own opportunity on each one of them. So next. Yes, so here, what we have actually is taking what we saw, what is the image, the iconic image of the old bridge, and we try to transform it with new elements, but still have this memory recall of the old bridge. And then so this is what you're going to see from above. I mean, from far away when you zoom out, but then when you zoom in. Can you go to the next one?
Sure.
Thank you. This is what you will see. It's a really hopefully what we're hoping is a very exciting place where people will come, when people will be able to enjoy the space where it can go down towards the water. And where we are now is we're from the courthouse side looking towards downtown Boston. That's International Place right off on the other side. And in here, as you can see, even though we do not have the old bridge, we are starting to also take elements from the old bridge and creating. So on, yes, can you point
Oh,
here?
sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
the vertical elements are taken from the old bridge right here.
These?
Exactly. And that is put in there in kind of regular form, so it becomes a cadence. There's a cadence of the old bridge that is starting to come out. And also, if you go back to the old, the other previous one,
Yeah.
sorry. Oops.
No worries. This one?
Okay, so here you can see what we're trying to do here is potentially keeping some of the old machinery in there. So there's just so many layers that we're trying to keep and also trying to show off for the future. And hopefully the public arts will just be an integral part of that, where it's just making the space very rich, both future looking towards the future, but also have the old element of history integral to the design.
Right, and Eddie, thank you. This is site A here. And when you were talking about B, we're looking at these
That's correct.
sort of
Somewhere in there, and these
yeah.
are the two B's exactly. And the C is actually underneath here, where something exciting could also be done. Yes.
Yeah, it's three very different experiences.
Exactly, exactly. And as you can see, this nice orange piece here, that's what we have as a placeholder.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so we're at 7:21. I think we should open it up to some questions and discussion. I want to just talk again. I think we may be only able to chat the hosts and co-hosts. Is that the case, everybody? And if that is the case, I apologize. Just please send us chats and then we can read the comments out loud, or call on you if you'd like us to do so. So again, to go over it one more time, then we'll get back to the fun stuff again. We're opening the Q&A, and we welcome people to ask questions and make some comments. If you're on the Zoom platform, you can raise your hand, and that function can be found down below. I'll show the graphic again in a second. Or you can let us know that you want to speak by entering a request in the chat box. You could also just send us a comment and let us know to read it. I'm going to be pulling up a queue in a minute, so we can kind of keep track of people. If you're calling in by phone, you can press *9 to let us know that you wish to speak. We'll put you in a digital line, and when it's your turn, we'll announce your name, and then you should unmute yourself. Please keep yourself muted at all other times, and then state your name and share your thoughts. We'll try and keep time limits in mind. If we can try and limit ourselves to just 2 minutes, that would be ideal, because we want to hear from everybody. And again, be respectful of other people's thoughts and opinions and time. So again, the graphic, you can see the chat box, you can see the participants. I'm not sure what pop-up, would you call this a little pop-up when you go to the bottom of your screen? And then you can raise your hand in the line and we'll call on people. So yeah, Christina, if you could just read some questions, that'd be great. But I have one other thing I'm gonna do, and that is that I just thought, maybe we could use a couple questions. I have 2 questions for all of you. First, something to think about. What makes the Northern Avenue Bridge and the surrounding Channel neighborhoods unique? And I just want to point out, And I think Eddie talked about this a little bit, that for us, this is a really unique opportunity for public art. If you remember back to the BAC's curatorial vision, diversifying the collection is one of the key components of that. And so when Public Works brought this site to our attention and was advocating for public art here, we thought this is really exciting. It's unlike any other site in the city. But I'm curious what makes the site unique to you, to your neighbors, to your friends. And I also want to know how you'll use the Northern Avenue Bridge when it's completed. Like, how do you envision yourself in that space? And again, to go back to that curatorial vision, one of the key components of that is that the community's experience and culture should be reflected in the public art of the site. So with that, those are kind of my two questions for all of you. I will switch over real quick to the line. Christina, do you have any questions you want to read at the moment?
Sure. So we have one from Kelly Peterson that says, I'm interested in learning more about the B location. Are we talking about art hovering over the approach or mounted on the platform or something different?
Great. And I wonder if Kelly, would you want to speak?
Hi there.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Well, I can speak to a couple of the questions that you asked as well. I can speak for the 4 Point Arts community when I say one of the interesting things about the surrounding communities here is the long history of public art in the channel. The 4 Point Arts community has had members that have been instituting guerrilla art in the 4 Point channel for many years. And I would love to have the opportunity to see more of their art in a permanent location on this bridge. We also will be using the bridge in quite frequently, since one of our galleries is located adjacent to the future location of the bridge. So we're very excited about all of the possibilities here, but I am interested in learning a little bit more about the B location and whether or not it's more of something that would be over the approach, adjacent to it, or perhaps there's a landing area that we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think what might be most helpful, because I don't think we're going to actually need to use that Q page, Christina, do you think? So maybe I'll just pull up the presentation again so we can look at some images when people are asking questions. Great. All right, let me just find that presentation again. Eddie, did you have any comments about Kelly's questions about the B site?
Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Eddie, you're muted.
Always forget that. Sorry. So the B site is actually the area where we have the approach both from the east side and on the west side. So it's actually quite large, and exactly it depends on what the arts is going to be developed, and that will be actually then we can figure out what we can put in there. But I'm not quite sure exactly what the question was. Do you have a specific thing in mind?
Yes, I was just wondering if there was a specific site on that quite large B location, or if you had, because I'm a little confused about where the walkway would be and where the art would be in relation to that.
Okay. So if you look at the diagram, actually we can do this.
I can go up to the diagram.
Yes, so when we look at the diagram, the reason why right now the B side on your left is on the upper side is because we have to have a emergency vehicle to be able to go down. So that's why we are like setting it like towards the north side. And then actually on the east side is much larger area. But again, there's circulation for people stepping down and also ramping down, because what we're trying to do, or what we're doing, is to make sure the entire bridge is accessible, and is accessible without ramp. So when we are talking about ramping down, it actually is more like a sidewalk. It's like a 1 in 20, so it's very gradual slope. And so like even on the east side, we will have the zigzag where is a combination of, it's almost like an amphitheater where people can walk down and people also can sit. So so that's why it's not like the entire thing, you know. However, if then the art project will be more integral to the project, for instance, on the railing or on the seating or on all that stuff, then, you know, that's for another discussion, and there's another possibility. So until we know more about what might be proposed, you know, these things are shifting. But like in general, these are the area that we've indicated. I hope that answered the question.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for this great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I want to just add a little bit to that, which is that it's maybe slightly misleading for us to separate them into such distinct sites, because we don't know what might be proposed. And when you look at this image, you know, A is right there on top of B, technically.
Yeah.
So there are some interesting opportunities, and artists always surprise us with what they might come up with.
Absolutely. We are totally excited about it.
All right. Christina, do you have another question? I apologize.
Yeah, I have a few.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
First, I have a few comments too, so I'll just read those first. It's just a few bullet points. Movement and night presence are critical. Sounds of the harbor, fun for rotating exhibition of midterm installations. I think this is supposed to say waterborne pieces, and then fun to support high upkeep pieces.
Well, I'll address the rotating pieces first, which is that this is a commission for a permanent project. The Percent for Art program only funds permanent artwork as part of capital projects, so it cannot be used for temporary or rotating exhibitions that would be of lower durations, like a year or 2 years at this point. Although I think, you know, as Kelly mentioned, this is an artist's neighborhood, so there's certainly, it's a really good thought, and I think a lot of people have probably had that same inclination for this space. Christina, there was another question in there, or comment in there. I think the first one.
Movement and night presence are critical.
Yeah, I'm interested in the movement comment. If anyone want to expand on that. I'm not sure who made the comment, but feel free to unmute.
I can keep going.
All right, keep going. Ask me some questions. We'll come back if you.
So the next question, this person doesn't need to speak, but they said many people who have commented on this bridge during the design process are concerned that the north side of the bridge will not remain pedestrianized. Is it possible to do an art installation since it doesn't / shouldn't need to comply with roadway standards?
I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, the idea would be that we would commission an artwork in a space that is potentially for other uses. And I don't know that that's something I can address or that would be appropriate for public art to address. I'd really like to focus on artworks for art's sake and for what the experience of an artwork would be in this space. You know, I think there have been several meetings and many discussions about the bridge design itself, and some aspects of it I don't think that we can really comment on. I'd love to keep the focus here on what we're thinking about for public art really specifically.
Okay, and I see, so now Todd Lee and Karen Dalton are unmuted. Did you want to add?
Oh, great.
We have a screen. Yeah, there's a screen. Okay, thank you. What an exciting presentation. Two things that I think would be wonderful if we can expand the notion of art is to include movement to evoke that magical period in the old bridge when it became unmoored from its ends and did this wonderful slow ballet, rather like 2001, the spaceship coming into the docking station to the Blue Danube waltz. It was a magical time for the bridge. And if there's a way to do that with light or with some kind of the art installation, it would be great to evoke that. Eddie has started wonderfully with using the drum. If we can make the drum understandable, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. And I think that the design is really evoking that incredible experience. But to reinforce that, to lift it up more would be wonderful.
All right, and the next question is from Rachel. It says, hi, I'm an interior designer with Elkis Manfredi. Is there feedback or observations from public art around town to gain an understanding of what types of art seems enduring, accessible, and successful? Interactive art sounds appealing, something to engage the community and encourage participation.
That's a really great question. And we're actually working on a database, which is one of my colleague Tricia Gilrain's projects, so that we can share more of our collection online and make it more accessible online. So that's in process. In terms of my reflecting on it, now it's a big question, but I do think interactive work has its own challenges, but also its own benefits. And in such a space where there's so much motion happening around, that could be a beautiful component. And there are different ways to achieve motion, right? It doesn't mean the piece has to move. I think Todd Lee just mentioned you can do that with light. You can, Eddie's evoking it just through the forms of the bridge. So I think there's some great opportunities there.
All right, and next we have, has the budget been established yet?
It has not. It has not been established yet.
And the next question is, the bicyclists now have no separation from pedestrians crossing and the transit bus is moving. Could the art be dividers to demarcate and make special a wide two-way corridor for the bicyclists to ride across the bridge? The bridge used to be for transportation, and with COVID, racial injustice, and climate change, we want to encourage biking and not just sitting.
Well, I'm going to confess, this isn't the most popular thing in all groups, but I feel like I'm in a comfortable space here, that I myself am a cyclist, and I would be concerned about using the artwork as dividers, because they do get hit, and we don't want to be putting artwork up as kind of asking it to do a function that is pretty intense when it comes to maintenance and things of that nature. But I agree that cycling is great, and if there's artworks, if there's artists who are interested in integrating that, it's certainly one of the themes of the bridge, I would say, this kind of active transportation and making those connections. And I don't think that's out of the question in terms of what an artist might bring to the table.
Yes.
I hope that kind of answered it.
May I speak?
Certainly. Hi.
Thanks. I'm Ann Lusk. I raised the question.
Oh, great.
Bicycle facilities for 39 years. And I don't like the plastic delineator posts that we have, because my PhD's in architecture and they look like a cigarette standing on end. There is a beautiful a bollard that even has light coming up through it that is available, I think, from the Netherlands. It's quite expensive, but it has an attractive shape to it. And if you hit it, you don't get hurt because the plastic bobbles back in position. There have been other attempts to make the dividers more aesthetic. Again, if you hit them, you're fine. But we've tried so often on the streets to have more attractive delineator posts. And if you're looking at art on this bridge, this might be an opportunity to invite the artists to come up with a viable and safe divider to create a two-way route for the bicyclists to get across the bridge, because the first design had the bicyclists sharing the road with the transit buses. And we're just fearful that that's just not creating enough space for bicyclists only, who especially with e-bikes and with the scooter bikes are going to want to go faster. And there is so much pedestrian space on this bridge that some space should be designated only for the bicyclists who are commuting, especially with COVID, racial injustice, and climate change, instead of having all the space for the pedestrians sitting and walking. This could be a place where you could introduce the art. So it's not taking away that aesthetic quality, but incorporating it in the bridge as part of the bridge for transportation. Thanks.
Thank you. Those are really great points.
Yeah.
Eddie, did you want to add anything? Oh, just good. Okay.
I
Christina.
think that's a very, very good comment. And again, this is one of those things that as we go along more in terms of where we might put the art and how we're going to actually execute the art projects, this definitely will require more discussion, because in terms of transportation, they're always, as you know, a much more restrictive of what can or cannot be done. So within those limitations or those restrictions, maybe there's some room that we can discuss, but they are usually just, it needs to have so many tests before it can be accepted from the transportation perspective.
Right. Yeah, you're talking about sort of the guidelines for that type of stand.
Yeah,
but it's a really, yeah, it's an interesting point. I'm sorry, Christina.
No,
Great
that's okay.
point.
Sorry, I feel bad that I keep cutting you off.
No, I just get interested in these different topics, so I'm sorry, but we want to give people time.
So I was just going to say I have a clarification to one of the earlier questions. So is it possible to put art on the north side of the bridge? And is there an expectation that C will be a light piece, or will there be official lighting installed and art?
Okay, the north side of the bridge. Right now, we are not thinking about having any art pieces where the ribbons are, because where I call the ribbon are like the two ways that are like on top that is going across. Because on one hand, they are now pedestrian, but in case there's going to have any emergency, and you know now with the pandemic and everything is shifting, you never know. So that at this point is meant to be clear of art or furniture or things like that. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and Eddie, by the ribbons, you mean the top
Yes, exactly.
bridge sections
Yeah.
here,
Yes.
where we saw the bike lanes.
Yes, exactly. And that's why right now the arts, the arts area opportunity are more like on the going down and then on the promenade itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, we have a comment. It says, I can't wait for this. I miss being able to walk over the bridge. I would love to see the art reflect the area and its history. The seaport area boomed so quickly, but is largely void of character or historical reference. Lots of glass and steel. It could be any city in the world. We are fortunate in Boston to have such a rich history, but that is barely represented in the seaport. Please don't let that happen with this project. So great to be multimodal, and that should be respected. Interactive art and soft sounds would be great. The Charlestown bells at the locks by North Station are wonderful. More things like that.
I'm glad this is recorded because those are all good comments.
And I think there was also a question in the previous comment about light, and if there was going to be lighting I think it was on the bridge, or some of the yeah. Eddie, can you talk about lighting
Yes.
for the bridge in general? Is there an image that would be helpful? Because I remember we saw the night image in the video.
Yes, so right now, and this is a very exciting, and I'm sure Todd is going to jump in again. Lighting the bridge is definitely is going to be part of the concept. As of now, what we're doing, and you can see it in the movie, uh, we have this kind of like a different character of the bridge, where during the day is new. You have yes, you have the covering, a reminiscent of the old bridge, but it actually, when you look at it, you know it's a new style, it's a new thrust. But then at night, what we trying to do is the lighting, and you can see it in the end of the movie. Unfortunately, we don't have it in a shot here. At night, through lighting, this the coast of the old bridge is starting to come alive again. And that's so far what we got really excited, where we can use the lighting to just bring back the life of the old bridge. So the complete profile of the bridge is going to just come back slowly as the sun go down, then the bridge comes alive again. And that's what we're doing. And so, yes, we're thinking of using lights in many ways, and that was one of them that we're using it. But let's hope it works.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it sounds like there's some real consideration for artists as well, in terms of how that lighting is going to interact with anything they might propose at night, and
Yes.
sort of that it may have a transformative quality.
Can I ask a quick question at that point about lighting?
Please.
Okay. The two-way cycle track protected by claim for bicyclists. You want to make sure that the surface of that route was lit, so the bicyclists at night felt safer. They knew exactly where their corridor was. They knew exactly the delineation of that wide two-way cycle track. The pedestrians knew that was the bicyclist zone, because some bicyclists don't have bike lights. And in studying street lighting on roads and cycle tracks, bike lights are inferior to having regular street lighting. And finally, you feel safer, especially if you're a bicyclist going over this bridge late at night, if you can see the face of the approaching bicyclist, and the light can even flatter the bicyclist. So the railings on the Hovenring in the Netherlands, it casts a pretty light up to the bicyclists' faces. So they look even younger and healthier than they actually are, just because the way the lighting frames the bicyclists. So this bridge could be that, maybe deceptive, like a really expensive restaurant, and flatter the bicyclists, but
You've
also
sold me. The flattering lighting. That's great. Let's go with it. Thank you. Thank you. I see that we got a question from someone who'd like to be anonymous, and that is, can the art acknowledge the role of the channel as a flood pathway? Could that be part of the theme that we share for artists? I think that's a really great suggestion. This is a frontline location. It's right on the ocean, so, or the bay. The water terms are not my specialty, but I think that's a wonderful suggestion, and I look forward to hearing more about that and talking more about that. Yeah. Christina, do you have any others? I jumped in, sorry.
That's okay. We have another comment about the lighting. So this person said, I think the question about the lighting is more about how will the artwork be visible in Site C. From the original rendering, the site looks very dark.
Right, so C is under.
Yes.
And I think this is probably the best view that we have in the still shots. Eddie, can you talk? I keep asking you to talk to these things.
So it might be dark in the rendering, but we do have a lighting designer that's going to be part of our team, and everything is going to be done based on what at least is the standard and more. So great comment, and we'll definitely send a comment over. And no, it's not going to be dark. Yes.
Yeah, I wish we had included one of the nighttime views so that we could see it for comparison. And I'd also add to that that, you know, the idea with the permanent commissioning projects that the artists will work with the entire team during their design and during their fabrication to really make the piece site specific and to work in the site in a way that makes sense, that it's well lit and well positioned,
Yeah.
as well as reflecting themes. All right, I'll stop talking. Christina, do you have another question?
I think we only have one comment left
Okay.
so far. It says, it seems any solution for A could likely compete with the strength and simplicity of the truss portion, which so beautifully echoes the original bridge.
Well, that will be the challenge of the artist, not, you know, to enhance it. I'm always thinking about this art piece will be integral, will be part of the bridge, and it will enhance the experience on how we will experience this new space.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. That's part of the artist's job, is to work with the site in a way that it's enhancing what's already there and the beauty of the work that's already been done, and being complementary to each other, working together.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean that everything has to match. Things can be contrasting, but there has to be a dynamic that's really working. And I agree with the commenter that it's a very beautiful structure as well.
Can I just
Please.
this is Rachel. I made that comment, but I just want to make it clear that was more about A, which maybe it was clear already that like that A location, something traveling, floating up there. Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't think I was talking about any art in general on the bridge, but so it's specific
Right.
something floating through there. Just
right, and we see that placeholder right here.
yes, yeah.
You know, so that is the site.
Right,
And,
okay.
yeah.
That was my comment about A. Thank you.
And that was a great comment.
And it looks like that's all we have for now. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to send them or raise your hand if you want to talk.
I only want to comment, there was a piece of art on the bridge when it was the old Northern Avenue Bridge, and I forget the artist's name, and all of you are going to tell me the artist's name when I comment on it. It's the lighted image of the person walking. So that same artist has done a person dancing, and on that bridge there was a, you know, a light board with digital lights, and it was in red, and it showed the person walking. And I know the name of the artist, but I'm not thinking of it at this moment.
Do you mean Julian Opie?
That was on the Northern Avenue Bridge. Art.
Is that the Julian Opie piece?
Yes, that's it. That's the piece. That was on the bridge.
But was that the permanent installation or was that the temporary installation?
I think everything on the Northern Avenue Bridge at that point was considered not permanent because nobody knew what to do with the bridge. They had it up there for a while. It was wonderful because it was sort of melodic. It had movement to it. It was pedestrian and it was in scale. So it did keep that truss effect as the dominant component. And it was reflective of walking, of everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Somebody just asked what was the name of that artist?
Julian Opie.
Okay, yes. Yep.
O-P-I-E, I believe.
Oh, and Todd has his hand raised again.
Oh, okay.
So Todd, if you want to unmute yourself, you can speak. Or I can
I
also
think one
unmute.
of the things that, is that unmuted? Are you all right? Yes.
Yes.
Good. One of the things I think that was so wonderful about The Walking Man was that it was funny. You know, there was levity in it. And sometimes fixed installations can get rather ponderous. and I hope we can keep our sense of humor in the way we treat this bridge. In fact, the truss is quite droll as a lightweight evocation of the old industrial work. And I think that's a wonderful spirit if we can keep it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the trust is really, it's fun. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe that's not the right word, but. All right, so we're on time. Good job, everybody. So we have gone through, I'm going backwards, aren't I? Good.
Yes.
Yes. All
Well,
right.
I guess this is to be continued, right?
It is. So I want to talk really quickly about next steps. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and questions. This is the beginning of our conversation that will go on throughout the life of the project. It was really helpful. So our next steps, we already talked about this in the timeline slide, but that was a long time ago. So we're going to continue to collect some feedback. I'm going to show you different ways, different emails on the next slide. Then we're going to draft the call to artists based on all of this input that we're getting. And also, you know, the engineering and other technical parameters. Then we'll convene an artist selection committee who will review all of the artist submissions to that call. And I want to add that we're working with the BAC and our project partners on the artist selection committee. But if any of you are especially interested in being part of that committee, please let us know. And then after that committee reviews all the artists and brings them in for interviews, they'll recommend someone to the BAC. The BAC will review and vote and hopefully approve the artist or their team, the artist team at one of the monthly public meetings. And then we're off and the artist will begin their work. So this is kind of early in that schedule. And this is how you can keep in touch with us. So you can share your thoughts and feedback by emailing us at bac@boston.gov. Please use the subject line Northern Avenue Bridge because we get a lot of emails to that address on various subjects. And if you can share your thoughts and comments by the 30th of this month, that would be great. You can also follow us at Arts in Boston to get updates, find out about other projects, other meetings. You can sign up for our newsletters at boston.gov/arts. And you can also email me directly, Sarah Rodrigo at boston.gov. Let me know how this went. Please give me positive feedback. I mean, it's up to you, but that's what I would love. You can also learn more about the new bridge at boston.gov/northern-ave. And there's a lot of information on that site about this really exciting project. And thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you to our partners who were here. Thank you very much to Para and to Ben and to everyone at Public Works. And thank you to Kelly and Fort Point Arts. And especially thank you to the team who helped me out, Christina and Trisha and Karen. So thanks, everybody. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll be in touch. Good night.